I guess my fans. Um, I was a cocky kid. Well, to me it was confidence, but they call it cocky. And I kind of said what was on my mind, and I was from Huntington Beach, and bad boy image, and it stuck. Kid from the Huntington Beach, so he was a Huntington Beach bad boy, and it stuck. And it was just I always spoke my mind. I always spoke what was on my mind. I always tried to get into my opponent's head. I always kind of took a page out of Muhammad Ali's page. If you could get them so frustrated, they forget about their game plan. And that's what I tried to do. It was never towards their fans. It was never towards their family. I never talked about a person's family or country or the religion. I always just try to stick to the individual himself and try to, a little brain warfare.
Well, I understand that you were influenced by Ali. Also, there was a wrestler that influenced you. Can you talk about him?
Well, the influences through my career had to have been Muhammad Ali and Hulk Hogan. Muhammad Ali, of course, in a combative sport, and Hulk Hogan in a sports entertainment. I try to find the happy medium in between of being flamboyant, but being confident of knowing the work I put into it. Of course, you had to win fights to show that you could back up the talk. And being a light heavyweight champion after a year and a half of competition and defending my world title for 5 consecutive times for a span of almost 4 years, and still competing now after 21 years, is just, I've been able to keep that image, but do it respectfully. I think at the end of the day, when the fight's over, shaking the guy's hand and, giving respect to a certain extent, but, keeping it sportsmanship there.
Well, you're talking about 21 years competing. Bernard Hopkins, who fought until at least, let's say his last fight was at age 52, he would say, "You're a young man." George Foreman would say, "You're a young man." He won the heavyweight title the second time when he was 45. So how do you feel about that number?
The number of an age, like I say, is just a number. I'm 43 years young, I say. I feel better now when I'm 43 than it was 34, just because of the injuries that I've been able to recover from. I've had 4 neck surgeries, I've had a back surgery, I've had 2 knee surgeries, but I'm able to push the tempo through and been able to get the training that I want. But I think it's just the mindset, the surrounding at home. I'm in a positive environment at home. I'm in a positive environment by the people I hang around with. And it's the truth, who you hang out with is who you become. Who you associate yourself with is who you become. And I associate myself with positive, reinforcing people that are great in my life. My girlfriend Amber is my girlfriend who helps me take care of my children and is like a mother to them. My training partners, Rafael Davis, Scott Carr, my trainer, Jason Perillo. These guys are like family to me. They've been around me now for over 10 years. Rafael Davis has been with me since our freshman year in college, and I keep my surrounding really, really small. The people who I really associate myself with is who you become, and I want to keep my circle small. And I always been training. I've never stopped training since I've been a sophomore in high school. The longest time I ever had off was about maybe 9 months. And that's it. I've always been in the gym. I've always been training. I take care of my body. I'm not really a partier. I don't go out and party and do drugs. I don't do that stuff. I'll have glasses of wine here and there for dinner and so forth. Maybe go out on a weekend with my friends, have a few beers. But that's it. Because this job as being a mixed martial artist, you got to be professional. And you got to take it seriously, because when you step in the cage against another person, they're trying to do the same damage you're trying to do to them. And you got to make sure that you're prepared for it. And through my career of 21 years, I think I've prepared the right way physically and mentally.
There's a fellow from Ireland that doesn't kind of follow that model. What do you have to say about him?
Well, Conor McGregor, he is in a great place. This man has let his mouth get him the biggest fights possible, but he's won. He's knocked out champions. And his last fight he had, I saw at the press conference that he was drinking whiskey with the president of UFC, and this is 3 weeks before the fight. And you don't do this against another undefeated fighter. I think that was just a sign of disrespect. I thought I think he counted past the fight. He thought that he was going to walk right through him. I put some money on Khabib, because you can't do that against a guy at this level. This level of fighters, it just matters who wakes up that morning with a smile on their face knowing that they have the fight won, because they put the work in camp. They look behind them and there's not one rock unturned. Every rock is unturned behind them, and they know that they've found everything possible to prepare for the fight. And that's what I try to do for every one of my fights.
You mentioned 10 years with your fighting family, Jason and the other guys. that's usually the sign of somebody that's really solid. And the other thing that looks solid with you on paper is you were born in Huntington Beach, California. You went to school in Huntington Beach, and you're the Huntington Beach bad boy. So you don't really move around a lot. You're a Huntington Beach guy.
I'm a Huntington Beach native. This is paradise where I live. You know, I've traveled the world. I've seen the bottom of the world, and I've seen the highest class of the world. And I think Huntington Beach fits right in the middle, where the weather's beautiful. People in general are very kind, soft-spoken, generous, nice people. I don't want to leave. I want to raise my kids in a great environment, and I've been lucky of that. You know, I live on the water. I have a boat behind my house, and I'm fortunate because of the hard work I've been through. People got to understand, I'm a kid who came from the streets. You know, my mother and father were heroin addicts. I used to live in a motel. I lived in cars. I lived in people's garages. We lived in a trailer park, and this was from the age of 6 to 13. And when I went to college, one of my minors was special education teaching, so I had to do in child development. And those development ages of a child from 6 to 13 are very crucial of what's going to happen to their future. I was able to break the mold. I was able to break the chain and to show that with hard work and dedication, you can achieve a lot of great things in life. And I want my kids to never see anything that I've seen as a kid. I've seen some really bad things. I've seen my friends get shot and killed. I've seen my parents using drugs. I've used drugs. I've seen so much stuff that a kid at that age shouldn't have been seeing. But at the same time, it was a learning experience. And my mother separated with my father at the age of 13. And it was hard for me because I didn't have a dad. I mean, I didn't have a dad prior to that because he was always getting high on drugs. But I learned the facts of life from watching the facts of life. I learned what love was from watching love movies. I learned what hate was from watching hate movies. I learned these things by trial and error, by watching movies. And as a kid, that's really hard to do. But as I got more of an adult and got more matured, I started understanding these things by watching films and educating myself by going to college and going to school and reading books, picking up books and reading people's stories, reading people's histories of how they got where they were. And it seems like the most successful people in this world came from the same situations in their lives. Either they were beaten, or they had, they came from drug addict parents, or they came from broken homes, or things like this. But this is what thrives us. I could be a statistic that being in prison or dead, or I could be someone who's been able to evolve into a great person, someone to give back and be an inspiration in someone's life. And I've been able to do that. I've been very lucky. I mean, through my whole life, I always understood one thing: don't ever step on anybody, get ahead, and always be respectful. And I've always been that person. I've always tried to be that person. And I don't want to get people confused, because when it's fight time and I'm competing against another man, I'm gonna disrespect him personally. I'm not gonna talk about his country, I'm not gonna talk about his family, and I'm not gonna talk about his religion. What I'm gonna talk about is how horrible of a fighter he is, and he doesn't even amount to what I can do. I'm gonna manipulate his mind as much as possible, but that's where the line's drawn. And I think that's super important as being a human being, is doing the right things. When the fight's over, I'll shake his hand. I will give him respect, just as long as he gives me the same type of respect. And once again, that goes to, as growing up as a kid, the respect you expect is the respect you get back. And I think that's what's super important.
Tell us your kids' names and ages, please.
I have 3 boys. My oldest son, Jacob, he wrestles, and he takes after me. My true name is Jacob. I have twin boys, Jesse and Journey. And Journey is my replica. And I have a picture of me at 7 years old, and I have a picture of him, and you couldn't tell the difference. But once again, I try to show my children with respect. Respect is a huge value in our family. When you walk in my house and you see the floor mat and it says Ortiz family, and the number 1 thing on there says respect. And you got to earn respect to get respect. My kids, they say thank you. They're very polite. And that's important. I'm trying to raise a good generation of children. And I think that's very, very important. They don't have iPhones. They don't have iPads. They don't play Xbox. I don't allow them to do that. My oldest son, Jacob, now he's allowed to, because after 15 years old, he's allowed to do it. Stephen Jobs, I think about 5 years ago, he said a child should not have an iPhone or computer access to the age of 14 years old. He was a very wise man. I took that, let's go ahead and try this. And I did it, and my kids are very sociable. You talk to them, they're not distant, they not really standoffish, they're outgoing. They walk up to you, oh, hi, my name's Journey, hi, my name's Jesse, hi, my name's Jacob. And the parents see that, they're like, wow, your kids are very well-mannered. I go, you got to work on them. And it just shows as being a parent is what you get out of your kids is what you put into them. And that's what I've learned. I've been fortunate because I don't know if I have a conscience or if God's looking over me or if it's just karma has always been a huge word in my life, but I always look out for people around me, and it seems like it rubs off to me too, and I try to show my kids the same atmosphere of having a positive environment around them. And I think that's super important. It's never, you guys can't do it. It's like, boys, how do we get to this solution? How do we get to this goal? How do we make this happen? I'm gonna say, no, you can't do it. No, you can't do it. I want them to fail. I want them to fail over and over and over again so they can learn from it. Because I failed so many times in my life. I can't count the times that I failed. But I've gotten back up and tried it harder and harder, and I never made a mistake twice in my life. I've always tried and better myself each and every time. And I think that's super important. And I have a huge stage to show my character, and I want my kids to build their characters so people can see what type of people they truly are.
Here's the dumb question I promised you. You know, in your bio on the internet, it says that your net worth is $15 million. Do they know what they're talking about?
People talk about a net worth. To me, happiness is my net worth. I wouldn't trade anything for the happiness that I have in my family and my kids' eyes. That's what's really important. I mean, money is key, but money just gives me an opportunity to show my children that what hard work is truly about. And it doesn't matter about the net worth. I have my fishing boat behind my house. I have my house on the water. I have my Rolls Royce Phantom. I have the goals that I've set through my life. I have beautiful kids who are smart. They're in the 4th grade. They read at a 7th grade level. They're very, very smart. And I don't have nannies. I don't have people taking care of them. It's me and Amber that takes care of our kids. And we're pushing them. We're trying to make them fail. I'm not trying to make them succeed. I want them to fail so they can get back and go, Dad, that was so hard. Dad, it's gonna be hard. Life's hard. If you think life's easy, you're gonna get eaten alive in this world. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and it's hard to say that because it's true. There's so many parents that wanna hold their kids' hands all the way up until 18 years old, and it's like, no, you gotta make sure you let them span their wings so they're able to learn through these things. And to me, a net worth is nothing. It's just truly not about the money, it's about the happiness, about what fills in my heart. When I get in that cage and I fight, it's never about the money. When I get in that cage and I fight, it's about being a better athlete, being the best athlete I can be and getting my hand raised and showing my kids and showing my fans what hard work and dedication is truly about. And like I say, I've gone through surgeries. I have ACL replacement, 50% of my meniscus taken out, L4-5, S1 fused my lower back, T3, T2, T2, T1, C7 disc replacement, C6, C7 fused, C5, C4 disc replacement, C4, C3 fused. I reattached retina, but I'm like $1 million man. I have a great surgeon, but once again, it goes back to the physical therapy I did prior, the physical therapy I did post, and the surgeon that I had that I've taken care of my body, and I kept my mind a temple. And to me, is just making sure that there's peace always in my home, there's peace in my mind, and there's peace when it's training time. When it's training time, I grind, I put in the work. I don't look for exits. I don't look for easy way outs. I try to find the hardest ways I possibly can do it. And when I do it, I push myself even harder. And I think that's what makes me who I am. There's 2 things I'm gonna live with for the rest of my life and 2 things that I'll die with. My name and my word. And those are the 2 things that I'll have. And I gotta make sure my kids understand those things as a father, as a human, and as inspiration to many people who watch me as a fighter. And they watch my career. There's people who talk shit, and there's people who support me. And there ain't many people who aren't talking at all.
Well, obviously you're in great condition now with 7 weeks to go before the fight. How many weeks have you been training?
I've been training 9 weeks now. This is the beginning of my 10th week, and I have 7 more weeks to go. I've been challenged. I've been challenged by Chuck Liddell. I was in retirement. I have 4 of the companies I'm working on. I have TO Auto Group, which is my wholesale car business. I have Punishment Athletics, which is my clothing company. I have a management company, Primetime 360, which you manage fighters. And I was doing acting. Now all of a sudden I have an opportunity to be a promoter like Oscar De La Hoya. And people don't understand, I've been a fan of Oscar since he won the gold medal in the Olympics. I bought Oscar De La Hoya's house in 2006. It was just, I manifested something that I wanted to become. If it wasn't just a promoter, it was being a successful person. And Oscar De La Hoya, being from East Los Angeles, being a successful Mexican-American, who showed all the Latino kids that you can become something as long as you set your goals high and achieve those goals. I'm still trying to set those things. And it was kind of funny because I was at the Canelo fight, and all of a sudden I got invited to dinner with him, and I was sitting with him and his family, and it was weird. It was like it was meant to be. And it was something that I manifested. I manifest these things happen. And I can go as far as back as I can remember when I first started wrestling. I manifested I want to be a varsity wrestler. Boom. A month and a half later, I became a varsity wrestler. I wanted to win the CAF championship. Boom. My junior year, I won the CAF championship. When I got into junior college, I wanted to become a state champion. Boom. I won 2 state championships. All of a sudden, I want to become a UFC champion. A year and a half later, boom, became a UFC champion. At the age of 23, I wanted to become a millionaire. Boom. At the age of 23, I became a millionaire. I wanted to own a house. Actually, before that, I wanted to own a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Boom. I owned a house, or owned a Rolls-Royce Phantom. And then I wanted to buy my first home on the water. Boom, I bought my first house on the water in 2009. It seems like I manifest these things in my mind because I don't doubt myself. I always get up every day and I grind. I worked for Donald Trump back in 2005 on The Celebrity Apprentice. And I was the only celebrity on that show that was in his ear. I was asking him questions. How do you become successful? How do you become a billionaire? And he plain and simple looked at me and goes, I never stop working. I always try to be successful each and every day. When I'm sleeping and I'm not working, I have somebody else working for me. He goes, if you want to continue to be a millionaire, you got to make sure you have 5 sources of income coming in every year. Well, I got 4 so far. This 5th one, maybe this is the deal. Golden Boy MMA. I'm here to be a promoter, not just a fighter, but a promoter also. As when I started working with Oscar, Oscar says, I'm a fighter. I want to give back to the fighters. I think the fighters should give back to the fighters. And I want to do that for mixed martial arts. I want to give back to the fighters. Where they're out there trying to kill themselves or putting on a show, they should be making a big sum of the money. And that's what we're going to do at Golden Boy Promotion.
Good. I have to say something about when your trainer, Jason, hits you in the body with those mitts. Those are big blows. I mean, I haven't seen that before. And I've been around boxing for 50-something years. I have not seen that before. I mean, that's exceptional when you talk about conditioning and so on, but doesn't that hurt? A lot of guys would get bruised and cracked ribs on that kind of power.
Well, I've learned that from Muay Thai. A lot of guys, because they get knee to the body, they get elbow to the body, they get punched to the body, and they say you crush a person's abdomen, you're going to crush their soul. So I do 500 sit-ups, and then after my 500 sit-ups, Jason can hit me 100 times to the stomach as hard as he wants. And I'm just building the endurance. I'm building the muscle density in my abs, and that works. I mean, it helps. I've done it almost my whole career, and I learned a long time ago from one of my old trainers, Colin Oyama. He was like, you got to do this, and he used to get Thai pads, and he'd hit every side 100 times. And it's just, you make your core strong by doing that. It's brutal. This sport's brutal. Life's brutal. But what do I get out of it? I'm sitting right here. I'm not dead. There's always been 3 things I've had in life. And I try to push myself as hard as possible. I push myself to throw up, pass out, or die. I've thrown up a bunch of times. I've never passed out, and I'm still sitting right here. So I just try to push myself that hard every time I train. Because when I get in the cage and I fight against another person, I want to make sure that I prepared for the worst so the best can happen.
Is this match with Chuck Liddell, is it about revenge?
This match against Chuck Liddell, yes, is about revenge. It's about redemption. It's about getting an opportunity to fighting somebody that used to be my friend. That was a close friend of mine that sold out on me because he wanted to go with the company. Now all of a sudden, 10 years later, the company dumped him, and he has to fight. I mentioned something on Mike Tyson's Bite the Mic about Chuck calling me out, and he said, do you want to fight me? And Dana White didn't want no business of it. And I mentioned something, and all of a sudden everybody at Golden Boy started running around and going, Tito, are you serious about that? I go, yeah, I'm serious about that. Would Oscar be interested about promoting it? The next week I was in a meeting with Oscar. I said, I think I can get Chuck Liddell to the table. I text Chuck. He says, I'm down. Next week, Chuck Liddell's in a meeting with Oscar. The fight was done. I'm trying to help Chuck out. If he needs money that bad, I'm trying to help him out. But I get a little revenge. And he bit the hook, line and sinker.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to say?
A lot of people talk about age for this fight, and age is just a number. I fought a year ago, January of 2017, and I fought a guy who's fighting actually in the Bellator heavyweight championship, Chael Sonnen, and I choked him in 2.5 minutes. I have so much more left in me. I look at the history of combative sports, and Randy Couture at the age of 43 became the heavyweight world champion. George Foreman at the age of 43, after taking 10 years off, became the heavyweight world champion. Bernard Hopkins at 52 years old became the champion. This isn't for a championship. This is for redemption. This is for an opportunity to beat somebody that beat me twice. And people don't think I have a chance. But on November 24th, I'm going to show how vicious I truly am as I stand up with Chuck Liddell. He's knocked out unconscious on the canvas.
Thank you. Very good. Excellent.
Great.
Really, really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and this is my life. This is what I love to do. But I always like to push myself past the limits. I think pushing myself past the limits is what makes me who I am. If I didn't challenge myself every day and try to look for failure, I would just be an average person. And my whole life, I always try to be exceptional and beyond everybody else, because I've always tried to do something more than the other people are doing. And I'm doing it. That way, when I leave long from now, when I'm passed away, and my kids go, my dad was a great man. He helped me out, and he worked hard. I've seen the way he works. And I'm going to do the same thing, and hope all my fans see the same thing, and they do the same thing. And, I'm not a religious person. My grandfather was a priest at Pacific Palisades. He was a preacher. But when I speak, it kind of makes me feel weird, because am I being a preacher? Am I preaching the right way of what humanity should truly be? In my opinion, yes. I just want to be a good person.
Well, you say you're not a religious man, but when you talk, you sound like a religious man.
Yeah. I think it's just being a real man and never trying to get something over anyone and being real. And if there is a God, and if things did happen how people say, I guess I'm doing right. But like I say, I stick to karma. I treat people the way I want to be treated. November 24th, watch me kick Chuck Liddell's ass. Let's go, baby.
Very good.